Alright, this is Matthew. I'm back with the second part of this tourney video. So, blinds are still 1500. Didn't miss any action, maybe one hand. So really at this point of the tournament, pretty much down to a situation where if you voluntarily play a hand, that's something that you should be willing to go all in pre-flop with, at least invest all the way to the end. Now, very seldom is there a situation where you might want to set mine. Let's say if I got pocket sevens right here on the button and this got min raises here, I would have some options. If I had a reason to believe that he was trapping, I might just try to call. What I mean by trapping, if he had like pocket aces or something like that, which I don't think that you can really determine that. So I mean, it's likely you're gonna. Probably the best situation would be go all in. Alright, so let's get to this hand. So, I made that check, I just checked back here. I bet the flop, and of course, that's a good dry board to bet the flop with. This guy comes out and bets a huge bet, which he could have had a queen just like me. Luckily, the 10 paired the board, so I don't have to worry about kicker. The only thing I can see as a problem would be if he had quad 10, so I'm going to go ahead and raise. I think the worst thing that's going to happen for me would be a split. Yeah, so I don't know why he would bet out double what the pot is in that situation. If I had pocket 10s, I'd fold that in a second. So, I thought, or excuse me, not, if I had a 10, if I had pocket 10s, I'd raise all day. That'd be quad 10s, but if I had a 10, I would fold that really quick. It's just a situation where he's showing too much strength. And I don't think there's any good situation to bet that big. Alright, so Queen 5 on the button. Now, I considered when this guy limped in for just a 100 bet, I considered just raising him up with all these extra callers. I think that there's some people, there's 3 other callers, and, it's just, you can't make a play on that many people, usually. I think there's some people that may try calling this pre-flop. I don't think there's ever a good scenario. Even if you hit your flop, you can never be completely comfortable. Unless you really smash the flop hard, like Queen 5, or make a flush with either the ace or the king out to make your odds better that you have the best flush. So this is why I'm very careful playing, in his situation, just completing. Just completing to the big blind. Got pretty much coolered there, hit trip 10s. So that's something that's probably going to happen to anyone in that situation. I definitely would see myself calling that and then getting it in like that, especially considering he had such a big stack. Now, 6 flopping trip 10s with the ace kicker. Even though, ace 10 seems like a pretty decent hand, in his situation, with him limping, if I, like I said with Queen 5, my positional advantage, I can steal that pot away from him pretty easy in a lot of situations. Let's say if I raise pre-flop and the board comes out completely dry, or even something like King 7-2 or Queen 7-2 or whatever it be. Obviously, if the queen hits, I would have hit my pair, and I probably would check it behind just to control the pot, so I wouldn't get in a situation where I have to make a very tough decision. But it goes to show, even though he had a better hand than me with his even though he had a better hand, it was still a situation where positional advantage and being aggressive can steal those pots away. Alright, so I just decided to raise King 3, and think it's a pretty good situation to raise, to just try to make a steal, and I do. Luckily for me, nobody had a hand, so that's great. Jack 2, I'm going to go back to folding this. I'm not going to get too out of line. So he folds and shows ace deuce. I don't think there's anything wrong with that fold. It's probably something I would do as well. You're out of position. Even if you hit your hand, if you hit your 2, obviously it's a very small pair. Have no idea where you're at. If you hit your ace, same situation. You could be going up against ace, king, queen, jack, ace 10 even. So I think it's a pretty standard fold. Alright, so it looks like player 6 kind of got priced in to make that call. Alright, so ace 10, in this situation, this is going to be a fold. Now, unless I'm willing to invest ace 10 all in pre-flop, I'm not going to make that play. Essentially, my M is less than 10. So between an M of 6 to 10, you're in the orange zone, and you have to be very aggressive. However, you're just going through way too many people. If I make a standard raise, let's say if I make it 400 or 350 or whatever, I'm investing a huge portion of my chips. And if anyone re-raises me, I have to feel like they're in a much stronger position than I am. So that's a fold all day. I don't want to limp with it in that situation at all. You're making yourself way too vulnerable, and it's not a good hand to begin with. Alright, so queen 7, 36, player in the second act. Limped in. Alright, so obvious fold now with player number 11. Essentially, looks like 70% of his stack got in pre-flop, so there's no way he's ever going to fold that. Alright, 7-2, just gonna have to fold this. So really what I'm looking for right now, coming out of the blinds, gonna have the best position for the next couple of hands. I'm looking for hands that I can invest at. I know I'm gonna play the whole way. I think if I get ace jack on the button, I'm looking to shove that all in. Pocket pairs. I'm going to be very aggressive with them. I'm not going to, I mean, essentially you have to risk losing in this situation with your chip stack. If you're playing too passive, eventually your chip stack's really just going to dwindle. And unless you get premium cards to play, if you're not playing speculative hands in a situation and essentially just trying to steal pots pre-flop, your stack is going to dwindle, and even by the time you finally do get a big hand, if you double up, you're going to double up a small stack anyways. So the key to winning these tournaments with these fast escalating blinds is to just be really as aggressive as possible. So if I had pocket 7s, pocket 6s, 5s, I'm pretty much going to go all in this situation. Even down to 2s, 3s, and 4s. Might be a little too loose in that situation, but essentially you get the point. You have to play these very aggressive. Alright, so ace 5 suited with 4 people to act behind me. And I'm just going to go ahead and fold this. I mean, pretty much this poker tournaments, these sit and go tournaments since the online poker boom happened, the evolution of this, I mean, a lot of people know what's going on. They know that essentially I have to shove with my stack, and they're going to play accordingly. So you have to embrace the fact that these sit and go tournaments, there's not a lot of play. There's not a lot of chips in play, so you're not going to get an option to really play a lot of flops. There's going to be a certain point where this is going to be a shove fest, and you really have to embrace it, especially if you want to win these tournaments. You have to embrace it. All right, so ace queen suited. Unless something crazy happens, like this guy raises and this guy re-raises, pretty much going to get this in. With one person limping in front of me, I mean, it looks really scary because he could be trapping. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it 450, and if a lot of action, something crazy happens behind me, I can get away from this. But with his stack, him calling an extra 300, I'm gonna put him all in on the flop anyways, because there's gonna be 1100 in, and he's only got 1250. So regardless of what the flop comes in, all the money's gonna get in the middle. So the flop is favorable to me anyways. So I'm just gonna put him all in. Hopefully he just folds. All right, so that's great. You know, steal a pretty good sized pot uncontested. Pocket sevens. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and raise this. You know what? I'm gonna fold this. This is a weird situation. I mean, you got to raise under the gun. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 people in position behind me, plus the blinds. I don't like over limping, just calling the 150. I'm not really a big fan of that. That would have been a situation to do it. Of course, I flop a set, so if you're watching this, you're probably thinking I'm a moron, which, hey, I'm not always going to flop that set, you know, and I'm going to have 2 people behind me to act. You know, I could have made an argument to make a standard raise pre-flop, which that was what I was going to do to begin with. And you know, with 27 limping, I have no idea what kind of hand he has. Sevens are just really not that strong. So, and you know what? I could have lost this hand anyways. Someone could have a flush. And I'll never know. Alright, so Jack 7, that's going to be a fold. So in that situation where 11 just pretty much bet half his stack pre-flop, in 27 situation, you got to assume 11 has a wide range. If I had any ace, maybe not ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, but he has to make a play, 11 does. So if I had any pocket pair, if I had king, queen, king, jack, things like that, I'm likely just going to put them all in. And just kind of see what happens with the outcome. Alright, so I'm going to just go ahead and make a stab at this. Limping with this many chips, it seems like he could have a wide range. 27 could be on anything. So luckily they didn't have anything. I was able to take that down. So this is the situation with king high against a random hand. If everyone folds to me, I'm likely just going to shove all in. It's might be a little loose, a little speculative, but it's really the way you have to play in these. So let's go ahead and do that. See what happens here. Alright, so I'm in pretty decent shape. Still 22 people remaining in this tournament, but I'm 7 out of 22, which pays the top 7. Obviously, you're trying to be in the top 1, 2, 3 range in tournaments. Alright, so with his stack, it's really not a bad play with Jack 10. He was getting that in the whole time. Alright, another early position limp. Ace 4 is just not strong enough here. Alright, so looks like the blinds are going up this after this hand, so it's going to be 150, 300, which is a huge blind jump. Oh, excuse me, I might be misreading this. Might be, it looks like we're going to be 100, 200, and then the next blind jump in 10 minutes will be 150, 300. But 100, 200, no antes as of yet, so the average stack is 2571, so the average person has less than an M of 10, so that's that orange zone I was talking about at the beginning of the video, and you have to be very aggressive within that. So optimal play, which of course, given this is a $5 tournament, play is not going to be optimal, but optimal play in this tournament, in this situation, would be, I'm going to go ahead and turn the sounds off here. But optimal play, you're not going to really see it at a $5 tournament, but it would be a lot of all-ins and very aggressive play. Top 10 hands for the most part, except, you know, as position worsens, you might see some people making plays with lesser hands. But if I was playing a sit-and-go tournament like this with a lot of strong players, maybe a big satellite into like a big $500 tournament or something like that. With these type of stacks, obviously satellites are played a little bit different because they do not reward. They have multiple seats that are essentially getting paid, so it's not like the tiered reward system like we have in these tournaments. So obviously first is 55.80, second 38.70, so you're going to make all your decisions should be geared towards making first place in this tournament, whereas a satellite, you would have decisions geared towards just hitting what the prize is. Sometimes they may pay out like the top 10 people for a tournament seat, so it's a little bit different. Alright, so I would have waited a different hand. He was pot committed with Jack 10, even though he hit his 10, actually hit a beautiful flop. He knows that somebody has to call him in that situation. If I was this person, I would have reshoved all in to get 36 out of here, but pot committed with Jack 10, he's better off just waiting for a hand where he can just shove all his chips in the middle and try to steal something. He still had like, I think he had like 9 big blinds and that, or excuse me, like 5 big blinds in that situation. So he still could have got somebody to fold pre-flop, but in that situation, he's really committed. 36s. There's no way he's going to get anyone to fold. So when someone's pot committed like that, you want to have a stronger hand. You know when you know you're going to get called. All right, so just calls with second act. So I'm just going to check here, and you know I'm looking obviously to smash the flop. I could lead out and bet this. I'm just going to go ahead and check it and see what happens here. Yeah, with his stack size, he could call with a lot of different draws and could even be floating me, and it'd be a very difficult situation for me out of position, so I just elected to let it go. Alright, so now it's interesting that he shoved all in because I was actually considering that being my one play. This limper, just my gut instinct is he's pretty weak, and it's exactly right. So I would have done the same thing 27 did with my ace-9, and if he called me and had a better hand, then it happens sometimes, but it just seemed like that was a pot that could have been stolen. You really should not limp in this situation this deep in this tournament. So if he had ace-10, king-queen, if you're not willing to put in a little bet, a raise pre-flop, you really should just fold those hands outright. And early position, there's too many hands that you can go against, so I would have just folded those hands. Pretty much my philosophy is early position, when I have this type of a stack size, I'm looking for premium hands, and as my position weakens, I get to a situation where I can just shove all in and try to steal. So let's say if I had ace 5, ace 6, any type of pocket pair, king, queen, king, jack, even queen, jack, I would just shove all in pre-flop. Alright, so ace, king, I'm going to play this hand no matter what happens here. So I'm gonna make a standard raise, and hopefully somebody just comes over the top and shoves, and of course if he shoves all in, I'm calling. All right, so with this board, there's a few different ways I can react. With how much value I have, I'm not going to bet and have him shove all in and essentially have to make a call. This is going to cripple me. I'm just going to check behind, hoping obviously I would hit some sort of a card. But now, with this jack comes, if he checks to me again, if he had a 5 or a 7, it would be very tough for him to proceed with that card coming. So hopefully, can just take it down right here. I did have the option to, check behind and then maybe call a small bet in the river if he decided to. I would still have a lot of value with that, but I just decided to go ahead and take a shot. So luckily, I'm not getting much resistance for the most part. I'm winning the hands I'm playing, which, and obviously, I mean, you have to get lucky in these types of tournaments. So, getting lucky, I haven't gone against a bigger hand as of yet, so grateful for that. And just pretty much just play the tournament straightforward. A tournament like this, you don't want to get too out of line. You don't want to be too crafty. You just pretty much play it straightforward. All right, so I'm gonna full king 4 here now. Any type of playable hand, you have to be conscientious of this guy who has after his 200, he only has 800 remaining, so 4 extra big blinds. He's pretty much gonna be going all in with almost any type of a playable hand. So you have to factor that into your equation. In this situation, where 36 is at, I mean, any hand that you're going to play in that situation, you should be raising. I mean, you can standard raise a lot of your range. You can even get away from it if 6 re-raises you. You would have to know 6 is very strong. But you're pot committed against these two players, so there's nothing wrong with, making your standard raise and seeing what happens. All right, so a6. Obviously, if everyone folds and he shoves all in, it's going to be a call. If he limps in, of course, I'm just going to put them all in pre-flop. So I'm pretty much playing this hand regardless of what happens. So I should be ahead of his range, and I am. Just got to make this hand hold up. All right, so in pretty decent shape. Okay, so ace queen. A lot of big stacks on my table now, so I have to be conscientious of that. But I believe if either of these guys make a standard raise, I'm just going to shove all in. This hand does kind of go down in value in these situations because they would have to be usually playing pretty solid hands. Now, since they're just going against just this blind, I'm just going to shove all in. And so run into pocket aces, which happens, but don't let that deter you. Ace queen in that situation, you're shoving every single time. Even ace jack, king jack with his blinds, with his stack, you're going to shove all every time. So even king jack here, with 2 callers ahead of me. Oh my goodness, I'm just going to go ahead and fold that. even in position, you're putting yourself in a really tight spot. So even with flopping, I would have had flopped a club draw. I mean, you could be going against a better club draw. They could have the ace. They could already have the flush in, for all you know. You could not have your king or your jack live. So I would have hit a king at the end here. But, I mean, there's just a lot of factors to play into it. You got to be able to see ahead and project into the hand to know how you would respond. And, you know, in that situation on the button, I didn't feel comfortable shoving all in. You know, and maybe I think the best play probably would have been, if you're not going to shove all in pre-flop, you can't really call in that situation. All right, so tourney's on break. 5 minutes. I'll pick it up when we get back.